Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I want you to take a moment and think about your living area, your work area. Think about the light in that area, whether it's natural light, whether it's artificial light. We're going to center on lighting today with a design expert. Specifically, LED lights can make such a big difference in your living space, the way you feel, all of that. She helps people with this all the time. All different types of designs, doesn't matter what you got, whether it's somebody in a business, somebody residential. She does major transformation projects from this to this, and she's back with us. Always great talking with her. She has so much information, so many great thoughts too. Rebecca Pogonitz is here. She's our professional of the year, by the way. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the intro. Yes, I'm excited to talk about lighting, especially with you, since you told me you love electronics and everything.
Oh gosh, it is. Anything we're going to talk about, when it first came out, I had it right down to home automation, the modules you plug in your outlets, the ones you install in your walls, all of it. It's like, I think it's fantastic. And it's come so far. Like I started,
yes.
right?
Yes. Even recently. I should bring Yarmila back on. A few weeks ago, my friend Yarmila Singer is a home automation expert, and we were talking about it. And yes, as recently as 10 years ago, people were just starting to do that, at least around here. I mean, a lot of people
Yes.
who were in the know-how, I'm sure you had it going on because you were in the know, but 10, 15 years ago, it really started taking off. Yeah.
I was just thinking that before you even said it, because my last house I bought in 2014, and I started with some type of automation by the end of that was May of 2014. So a couple of months after that, right around that time, maybe just segging into 2015, where at that point I had things set up so that I could use an app on my phone, turn on lights in my backyard. I
Wow,
had
that's impressive.
lights strung around a pergola on top of a hot tub, the lights around the backyard. I would just, click, click, click. Great. The only thing is, it wasn't perfected. There might have been some Wi-Fi issues here and there. Sometimes you had to reset things, address things. Today, it's more seamless. And there are so many more companies that have jumped into the automation LED arena that you have choices. And man, it's so cheaper now than it was back then.
Yeah. And even with lighting, everyone was at the beginning, people were talking about LED. Let's see, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, but I'd say like early 2000s, people started talking about LED and what that meant. And first and foremost, energy saver, right?
Sure.
And longevity, cut back on your energy costs. And it's evolved into light fixtures that are actually integrated LED. So you have to know the difference between integrated LED light fixtures and simply an LED light bulb, because back then everyone was just switching out into LED light bulbs.
Yeah.
And LED has evolved in that it used to be very cold and kind of blue tones. Now it's back to 2700K, and that was something I wanted to teach everybody today is color
Please.
temperature, because that affects your mood and everything. Now LED is giving you the same experience as an incandescent light bulb. The only thing is you have to remember that if something goes wrong with the fixture, you can't just change it. The whole fixture has to be replaced. So you just have to be careful with that, with your budget and planning your project, especially here in my building. I'm helping them make some improvements, and we want to change out all the light fixtures. There's 20 floors, but we cannot do integrated LED because they're going to be on all the time. So they're going to burn out in 5 years. So we're going to have to replace all of them, and that's going to cost a fortune. So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
What you're selecting. And another thing is you have to be careful that the fixture is compatible with the dimmer, because if it's not, you're not going to be able to adjust the light. And I know for me personally, that's very important, because I typically like dimmer lighting for my mood. If you can't control it, it just creates a negative effect.
100%. And some LED fixtures aren't even addressable, or bulbs aren't addressable by a dimmer. So yes, to your point, you have to make sure that they talk well to each other.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
quick thought: as we're talking, this is how my brain works. You massage a little bit, stuff comes out, and to your point about there is a shelf life on LED lighting. It was just a few months ago. I went to a friend's house, and some of the hi-hats weren't working, and she had done a renovation. I want to say it was like 2020, 2019, somewhere in that territory. And I looked deeper into it, and it turned inside the fixture. You have a control unit, which also has a transformer, a little tiny
Uh-huh.
transformer in there. Then you actually have the LED light. Looking deeper into it, I identified that the transformer module box, it's a little metal box, uh, blew. The light was fine, but not the
Interesting.
transformer.
Okay. Okay.
So, and here's the other thing, whether there was a spike somewhere or whether it was just age, other ones blew. So I ordered on Amazon a box. I could see the number on it, and I cross-referenced to get the new ones. And I guess it basically came out to, going by memory here, but probably like $8 a module. I swapped them all out. The cool part is we have extra bulbs because it came as a kit. But if you're not an electrician or handy like that,
Mhm.
it's challenging because there was AC going into the module, which takes it down to the voltage of the LED light. So,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
your point, I mean, I swapped out four. I can't imagine doing multiple floors and all of that.
274 wall sconces.
Yeah. So what do you do in that situation where you've got it's going to go eventually. Yes, you're getting the benefits of
Right.
less cost, saving electricity, but nothing lasts forever.
Right. It's just really important to educate the consumer.
Sure.
So I'll tell my clients, listen, this is LED. It's got 25,000 hours of shelf life.
Hmm.
How often do you think you're going to be using it? I have a client, she reached out to me a few months ago. Her LED blew out in her bathroom, but we installed it in 2017. So that's
Hmm.
quite, it's about 5 years. It had, but you just have to know what your priorities are. Some have 50,000 hours of
Sure.
shelf life, which is great. And yeah, it's just, you have to just keep all of those variables in mind.
So I want to get into color temperature and all of that because
Yeah,
I got the wiring end of it. That stuff confuses me. I do want to
yeah.
share with you in that house when I moved in 2014. It was a rush. Whenever you move, it's like, this is going on, this is going on. And I knew somebody who was an electrician, and I said, I don't like these lights or whatever. Can you change out? Just I had a punch list for him. He installed them. I don't have time. I will tell you this. I sold that house 2 years ago, and
Yeah,
everything was working fine.
there
So
you
yeah,
go.
that's at least 7 years.
Mhm.
Uh, Having an electrician do it, I'm sure he gave me premium lights. It wasn't cheap, but maybe it was better quality, and that's why it lasts past 5 years. Just saying.
Yeah.
So color temperature, confusing to me.
Yeah, color temperature. Color temperature is the the type of lighting that is being given off. So for instance, I mentioned 2700K, which is typical ambient lighting. And ambient lighting is something that gives off overall light. And 2700K is not quite daylight, but it's the most flattering light. So if you're having a party or whatever, and you want, it's the most flattering, it's a very soft light. As opposed to 3000K, that's the equivalent of natural daylight. And that's going to be very bright. And then office spaces have closer to 4000K. And that's when you
Hmm,
walk into these huge expanses of work areas and it's being flooded with light. So it's really, you want to be aware. I've had conversations where, is this light going to come off too blue? Is it because that's going to give me a headache? And then we check the temperature. And I always say, make sure this is on a dimmer so you can control it.
uh-huh.
But for me, 2700K is ideal. And then another thing I wanted to mention is that yes, you have the color temperature, but it's important to balance it with your natural daylight and to balance it and layer lighting with other things, which are the other two kinds of lighting. Task lighting, which is obvious, right? A lamp, or even behind me, I have a kitchen that I did. We've got task lighting over the island, and then ambient lighting are the cans, and more ambient lighting is the chandelier right there.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it really, for me, the ultimate experience is layering the light. So not just having cans, having it all working together. To me, that creates the best experience.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that. A lot of times people will do hi-hats and they're great, serve a purpose,
Mhm.
but it's a certain type of lighting. And it's a big difference when you have you pair that, which is on my bucket list for my bedroom, and
Mhm.
two nightstands. And I was thinking of putting just regular lights on the nightstands, just lamps with the LED lights that are in the hi-hats above, because it just feels kind of cold in there. Isn't it
Mhm.
interesting that the difference between 2700K and 3000K is a substantial difference, but it doesn't look like a big gap in terms of the number of K,
I
if you
know,
will.
and that's very interesting. I never thought about that very much, but it's a huge
It's
difference.
a
It's a
huge,
huge
like I would be
difference.
like, 2700, 3000, what's the difference?
I never
Um,
thought of it that way.
and then
Yeah.
the 4000, interesting you should say that. In this office, they replace, I had some standard fluorescent lights
Mhm.
and they go after time. They start flickering. It's annoying. So I told the landlord and they came in and replaced them with LED tubes. And
Mhm.
whoa, it's like, uh, but it wasn't just
You were
tubes. They had
getting
it.
blasted with light?
Yeah, I wish there was a dimmer. It is what it is, and it's all good. I don't even have them on now. If I put them on, it would be like craziness. But they had to swap out the entire fixture. So that was a big fixture.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
a number of them, but that was a, interesting type of light. So let's look at that one more time. The 2700K is more of a, is that a cool or no? That's
It's
soft,
warm.
warm. Thank you.
It's a warmer temperature. So
Okay.
it's not going to uh I like to describe it as atmospheric. It's more flattering on your skin or
Okay.
whatever.
Does it
It
have more yellowy, orangey, call it that, tones to it?
yes.
Okay. And
Yes,
now when
but
we get it, I'm sorry.
it no, sorry. It depends on the fixture and how much it's giving off too, because sometimes you don't want that, the orange and yellowy. And even though I like dim light, I need it to be clear light. So I'm wondering, and you know what? I learn every day on my job. So I'm wondering if that means it would be a lower voltage or lower wattage. I don't know.
Hmm. Interesting. So my visualization of the 2700K is more like your typical classic incandescent light bulb.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is.
100 watt light bulb. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Because which had, even if it was, the soft bulb, it still has that element of yellowy feel to it. When you get up to 300K, did we abandon that look and now it's more of a whiter, purer kind of
Yes.
light?
Light.
Okay.
Exactly. Daylight. Daylight.
Daylight.
And
Okay.
if you're not used to that, um, then it can be very, very harsh. It's interesting because when I went to visit my daughter and son-in-law, he loves bright light, just like he just want. And I know this is exaggerating, but I had to respect his space. I put on sunglasses. I could not deal with the bright light. It's just so personal. It's so personal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of like that light over the yellowy. And of course, as you get
Yes.
older, you need more light to see. Just it is what it is.
Yeah.
Most of us. Um, and again, the 4000, I got to believe what's going on in this office when the LED tube fixtures are on.
Mhm.
That's got to be 4000. It's got to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty bright, pretty harsh. Um, Other ideas, other thoughts on
Yeah.
LEDs? What do you got?
LEDs, people should remember they don't have to replace all the cans in their ceilings. There
Hmm.
are retrofit LED cans. So if you did want to transition to LED and save on your energy costs and the hassle of having to change the bulb more often, it's very simple and economical just to replace the whole unit with an LED retrofit can. That's a
Gotcha.
nice tip. I think
Hmm.
people should know that they can save money, so it doesn't cost a fortune. What I also love about what's happening with LED and lighting is the size of the recessed lighting is getting much smaller.
Yes.
And it's allowing us to do things we never could do before. For instance, working in a high rise where the ceilings are concrete, and let's say the building rules are you can't trench or drill into the ceiling. We simply lower the ceiling even a couple inches, and they have cans now that are like 2 inches
Yes.
high and 2 inches round, and those same cans are giving off the same amount of light as the larger cans, but aesthetically it's not about the cans anymore in your ceiling, it's about what's happening here in on this level. So I think that's super cool.
Oh,
That's super cool.
that's what I learned when I swapped out the transformer units in this person's house, and they were only
Mhm.
installed again, 5 years ago, whatever. When I'm up in the ceiling, disassembling, like, the heck is this? Like, I'm so used to, when you have hi-hats, the cans are like that.
Yeah.
This was like this. I'm like, oh my gosh. And for anybody that doesn't know, I guess we should share the benefits. So
Yes.
your old school 60-watt classic light bulb,
Yeah.
60 watts. The equivalent typically is about 8 or 9 watts when it's LED of the same amount of light.
Yes.
So think
Yeah,
about what you're
that's
saving. Like, even outdoors, you put your lights on at night or whatever. Now, all night long, call it 12 hours, whatever it might be, you're burning 60 watts. Now you're burning 8. Big difference.
right, right. And the way so just so you know, if you're going to have enough light, then for instance, if I'm selecting a light fixture and let's say the size of the room matters. So let's say you have a small laundry room, 10 watts may be enough. If you put in a 40-watt light fixture, you are going to get completely blasted. And some people like that. But yes, that is something to keep in mind is the wattage. And that's another tip I like to share with my clients, whether it's LED or not, is that you have to make sure you have the right wattage for the room. And that's depends on the size of the room. So I have a little trick for that.
Yep.
You simply add up the square footage of the room. So if it's a 10 by 10, it's a 10 by 10 room, it's 100 watts that you would need.
Give me that
So,
one more. I'm horrible with math. Give me that one more time.
okay, so actually no, if to get the number of wattage you need, I'm going to backtrack. You multiply the square footage of your room, 10 feet by 10 feet is 100 square feet, and then you multiply it by 2. So the wattage in the room to get the appropriate light has to be at least 200. So like a fixture that gives off 180 watts is going to be perfect for that size room. If the room is, let's say, 40 by 40 or even 20 by 20, 180 is not going to be enough and it's going to feel real dim. And I
Gotcha.
know this is all technical stuff, but it's just our job in the design build industry to educate our clients about this. So
Hmm. Yeah. You know what? I'll just hire you. It's easier than dealing with all
yeah,
that. Um,
that's a little technical. I don't know if I'm allowed to get that technical on here.
we have some time left. Let's talk about and I'm not the interior design expert, but accent lighting. For example, like, kitchen in your background. You can put lights above your cabinets, a LED light strip,
Oh,
just to
yeah.
pop it out. Now I'm
Or
gonna,
in the base, or in the toe kicks in your cabinets.
yeah. Oh, I never thought of that one.
Hmm.
I'm gonna. Can I share something? Big money saving tip.
Oh, please do.
Okay, so let's say you want to put lights above your cabinet, LED lights. You want to put them up there, and you want to be able to control the color. Maybe, it's Christmas. You want to make it red, or you like a purple hue, or whatever it might be. You can buy those light strips on Amazon, some
Hmm.
no-name company. I'm not exaggerating, for $15.
Hmm.
Depending on how many cabinets you have, you might need two of them. And the cool part is you usually have a microwave in the middle of your cabinets. So if you drill a hole in the top of the cabinet, you can plug the LED lights in there. You're good to go. You just drape them along, because there's always a recess in there where you can drape them. Nobody will ever see them.
Oh,
And then
yes. Yeah. The
and then
apron.
it goes to an app. So you want to turn your lights on, click. You want to change the color, any color in the universe you can do. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're good for, call it under $30. Under $30,
Yeah.
you're ready
And
to rock.
it's interesting that that's become real popular, that whole concept in bedrooms.
Mm.
So I do a lot of bedrooms, and let's say there's a teenager and he wants his room to be super cool. You go to Amazon and you buy this strip, what you're talking about, it changed color, and you just tack it behind the bed, and all of a sudden the bed is glowing. It's super
Yeah,
cool and easy. Technology is wild these days.
a lot of teens, my daughter included, my son had it too. She still has it right now. The LED lights around the ceiling, that
Hmm.
there's adhesive that sticks on the
Yes.
ceiling. Good luck getting that off when you want to take them down. Um, I paid more for that because I know she's particular, and I want to make sure that everything, there's no issues. So I probably paid about $40 for that string of lights. The kitchen cabinets, I got it for, way less than that. Um, and to your point, the lighting under the bed is so cool. My bed already had lights underneath it. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
long story short, I did testimonials on the radio and got a great deal. But I have a remote where what a difference that makes. And I can't control the color. So it's like a yellowy kind of,
But
incandescent bulb look.
it just adds to the mood. It's
It
healing,
does.
right? It's
It,
healing and economical to do, and just and that's what I'm all about. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
just that's how I'm carving my niche here, is let's just heal each other up and let's come up with some cool ideas to do that.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that really is the bottom line in all of this with the lighting. You're setting a mood. There's
Oh yeah.
something, you have a goal. It's not just I need light. No, there's more going on here than that. And that's where you approach everything you do from a different standpoint, the energetic aspect of it, if you will.
Yes, yes, just layering. In my office space, I have to flip on the overhead switch, but I always have a lamp on my desk. And I turn that on, and voila, all of a sudden the overhead lighting is less harsh. And I'm wondering if it's filling in pockets of shadow.
Huh. All right. Never even thought of that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah.
It needs to be well thought out if you're going to,
It
especially
does.
if you're installing hi-hats. There's got to be some thought involved in that. But I think the advantages are so many, plus the heat aspect. It generates a lot of heat, those old school lights. LEDs,
Yes.
there is
LED
heat
does
involved.
not.
It's a little bit depending on what you're working
Okay.
with. Could be a
Yeah.
little bit, but nothing compared to, let's say, an 80-watt bulb in your ceiling. It can, in summertime, in your background right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. You got 8 lights. That's going to add. If those are regular bulbs, oh my gosh,
Yes.
I would have to take a guess and say you're probably adding 5 degrees to that room.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. It's so true. So
it's like
true.
it's like being a French fry at McDonald's. in,
Yes.
in a way. Um, this is just part of what you do in terms of
Yes.
design, but you also take care of the functionality of rooms, the decoration of rooms, the window treatments,
Yes.
all of this
Yes.
from the bottom to the top. How does somebody connect with you, Rebecca? How do they do that?
Feel free to give me a call, 847-337-0526. I'd love to chat. You can also find me on my website, gogodesigngroup.com.
Yeah. Change up your lighting. Go, go, go. It's so worth it. And going to save your money too. And if you need some thoughts on that, you are available for this and so much more. Thanks for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, it definitely was. And we'll catch up next time.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
We're coming right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.